Hello everyone, welcome back to the zoo. I'm Reckless and this is Planet Zoo. It's been a couple days since we've been in our park here, so I wanted to give you guys an update. I'm feeling a little bit better. Excuse me as I turn off the volume on my phone. You know me, I love to forget that. So either way, I'm feeling a little bit better. My cough is still persisting a little bit. But all in all, the health is on the rebound, so cheers to that. I wanted to give you guys an update on the park here. I've done quite a bit off camera, and some that I will show you in this video, but the game has also had an update. We had an update to Sandbox. So what they've added, if we go in here to game, there's now new Sandbox features. There's animal settings that they've added extra. So we have disable animal welfare, disable animal predation and fear, disable death through aging. These other ones we had before: aging and birth, animal death, fights, and illness, but these three at the bottom here are new. I've gone ahead and added these into my game. The animal welfare just allows me to allows me to be a little more liberal with my designs, and it allows me to use either plants or stuff like that that maybe the animal wouldn't necessarily like. What are you doing, game? Stop it! Anyways, death through aging. So basically this means your animals cannot grow old and die, which is good if you get like a white animal or something like that, an animal that you'd like to keep. And this one is what really has got me excited. Disable animal predation and fear. So it stops, as you can see here, stops animals hunting each other. So what I'm thinking is this means that we can put predator and prey in the same habitat together and they won't kill each other. So I've yet to test this out, but it is something I'm going to be testing out. I'm thinking in our Africa savanna area, it would be awesome to have like lions and stuff in and amongst gazelles and giraffes and everything like that, have like a proper savanna experience. So this is something I'm going to be checking out to see if it does work, how the animals react, if it gives kind of the look I'm going for, right? But all in all, by adjusting these settings here, it's created a lot more peace in my park. I don't have to worry about keepers not feeding animals, and with the animal welfare disabled, it just makes my life a heck of a lot easier. In addition to that, they've added guest settings, so you can tweak your guest needs and everything like that. This is something I'm not interested in here. Ideally, I want to have my guests naturally feeling happy through the design of our park. As you can see, we're almost to 5 stars. Let me just close this for a second. We'll see. So guest happiness is actually what's holding us back, but we'll get there eventually. So yeah, there's guest settings. You can limit the number of guests in your park. So if you're getting lag issues or something like that with just too many guests, you can limit that. Also, there's economic settings. So this one used to be here, happiness degradation, energy degradation, that's whatever. But barrier dilapidation, this is something that I really like. It eliminates the barriers breaking down so they don't get all cracked and broken and require a mechanic to come fix them. So that just is peace of mind, but also a visual thing. These two, however, are the stars of the update. The power everything and keep water clean. So this now eliminates the need to have power boxes absolutely everywhere, right? As you can see, I haven't gone through and deleted any that I had previously, but this eliminates the need to have power for each and every little information box you want, and everything like that. So such a great quality of life feature. But without further ado, I want to quickly go over some of the changes I've made here. So the buffalo plains, they're all matured up from being kids now with these new settings and whatnot. So I got a nice big herd of adult buffalo in here. I finally came through and added some rocks to this land bridge. I think it looks a little bit better. I'm not sure if you guys saw the separation of pronghorn and bison, but the keepers just couldn't keep them both fed up to the point they needed to be. So I decided to separate the two, and it's made a world of difference. But I'm probably going to change this fence along the middle. It's not the most sightly thing. Starting at the beginning, we've got a new zoo entrance. Now, I spent about 2.5 hours, maybe 3, trying to build my own zoo entrance in a number of different styles, and it just looked awful. It just looked terrible. And I was getting so frustrated, and I just couldn't make it work. So I went on the workshop, and I found this guy, and it fit the need of what I wanted. You know, the look that I was trying to go for, it just works, right? So if we come in here, let me just fight with this camera a bit. So we got this nice mural here. Guests come along either side, and they have these cool little turnstiles here. Very realistic turnstiles for guests coming into the park. There's one on this side as well. So I put in the guest, like ticket booths myself here. And then you come across, you have an information booth and a souvenir stand right here at the entrance. And then we get into our park. Now, this is something that I worked on yesterday, and I'm still going to tweak this a little bit more, but basically I was toying with putting this in the actual buffalo exhibit, but I decided against it. If you go to Yellowstone National Park, these kind of sulfur pools and geysers and stuff like that are littered all throughout Yellowstone National Park. And it was something that just captivated me as a kid when I was there. It was just absolutely amazing to see as a result of the volcano under Yellowstone. So bison are very, very prevalent in Yellowstone National Park. So I wanted to kind of create a little piece of home for them in these volcanic water pools, but also something to just break up the monotony of this long walk into the zoo here. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. Aside from that, one of the major things I did was add lighting to the zoo. So if I switch it to nighttime, you'll see all along the path I added these little lights. And then as we go down, I added lighting to all these different areas just to kind of, make it a little bit more realistic, have the guests not just walking in complete darkness along the path and everything like that. And then once we get to the North American area, these awesome lampposts, these are a workshop item as well. I've littered these throughout the park along the pronghorn walkway, stuff like that. I think they fit the theme really, really well. They match the decor of what I have built here extremely well, so I'm super happy with those. Yeah, basically I just did we got more baby bears! Hello, baby bears! Aw! I thought I turned off mating. Yeah, you must be a male? You must be a male? Yes, you are. There we go. Sneaky bears. But one of the side effects, if you will, of these new Sandbox options is as soon as I turned them on, like, all my animals just had like so many babies, and I had to go through and neuter everyone basically. Like, if we look at the wolf den here, look at them all. That's a proper wolf pack. I'm loving that. But yeah, everyone just had babies. It was crazy. So I had to go in and turn that off. We added a arch to the rainforest area, as well as the in conjunction to the African entranceway that we had here previously. But all in all, I think that's all I changed. Yeah, I think that's all I changed with that, as far as that goes. I almost spoiled that for you. So yeah, we have our underground cave area that you saw in the last... Oh my goodness. Underground cave area that you saw in the last video. You guys seem to like this, so I'm happy you enjoy that. But today, I'm going to show you what we made for our chimpanzee habitat. Now, I'll talk about it more in the time lapse, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so let's begin with our time lapse here. Basically, my building, I knew that I wouldn't be able to design something from scratch necessarily and have it turn out the way I wanted it. So I took the roof from this workshop piece and I just kind of made it my own through experimentation and stuff like that. I wanted to have my initial idea for this was to have both the chimpanzees and the bonobo apes in one structure, and then I realized that it wasn't feasible whatsoever. The enclosure size, like these buildings, they just look absolutely massive, and they are massive, but it's still nowhere near enough space for two species, right? Like this building here, I'm going to use as more of like a little botanical garden, just kind of like an entranceway from the train station into the chimpanzee habitat. But you'll see in a minute here, I make a dome for the chimpanzees, and I will honestly say this is the last dome / indoor / whatever habitat I make for an animal, because not only do they have to be absolutely massive to accommodate the animals and the design and all their plant life and enrichment features and whatnot, but it's just the hardest to work around. Like, the camera doesn't go into the building easily. You gotta like zoom to the ground and then go in. Like, it's just a pain. It's an absolute pain. So I'm not a huge fan of the enclosure inside the building, inside a dome, whatever you want to call it. So I won't be doing that again. I've decided on that. But all in all, this building, I think it turned out okay. The pathing system on the inside is a bit of a nightmare. I'm still messing around with this building itself, but I'm gonna say it's done and just mess around with the paths and stuff as we go. But all in all, I'm just trying to improve my building ability, and I think it's coming along. I'm not an architect. I'm not the best designer out there or anything, so I'm okay with how it's turned out. Apologies, had a phone call there, had to answer for my work. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the series so far. I hope you're enjoying the builds. I'm trying to keep it as exciting and innovative as possible without being repetitive and monotonous. And I'm also trying to do new things that you might not have seen before, something that you wouldn't have seen on YouTube or in Planet Zoo altogether. I like to push the envelope of the game and see what can be done and everything. I think the mandrill habitat was kind of the peak of that so far with our train rolling through the hills, but I have some ideas for some pretty cool, innovative stuff in the next parts of the park, or the zoo rather. So if you do like the content, please do subscribe. Don't forget to hit that like button if you are enjoying the content. As far as buildings such as this one go, I wouldn't expect much more as far as these kind of big buildings go that accommodate either animals or the guests. Unless it really calls for it, I'm just going to rely on the workshop. This is not my forte. Building these kind of buildings is just not what I enjoy doing, and in all honesty, I'm not the best yet at it. So it is something I'll strive to improve on, as I've said in the past. But the building system in the game it really isn't enjoyable for me. So I'm going to stick to what I'm good at, stick to what I know. I'm going to build beautiful habitats. I'm going to make the animals happy, nice lush plant designs and everything like that. But buildings, I'm just going to get off the workshop. It just does my head in far too much. So this part of the building is where I got the idea for like a botanical garden in this building. I wanted to have this little see-through bit where when the guests are shopping, they can see like a cool little garden fixture behind the glass. And I figured I would just kind of roll this out into the rest of the building and kind of create a little garden for the guests to walk through on their way to the Chimpanzee Dome. Like I said before, the dome itself I think is absolutely massive, but even just for the chimpanzees and like enabling enough space for paths and stuff like that, I think even just for the one species it's still too small. And I was really surprised by that. I thought the size of dome I was making was overkill, and then when I got inside of it, it just wasn't enough, even just for the chimpanzees. So, I mean, you'll see that in a minute here. I start to construct the dome in a minute once I finish with this little garden here. But all in all, for the look of the dome, I just don't think it's worth. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. So I won't be doing a dome again. That's for darn sure. So here is the dome style that I went with. I created this from scratch. I apologize not showing the initial construction of it, but I had monkeyed around with a couple different designs, and I just forgot to hit the record button when making this one, if I'm being honest. Positioning these dome pieces on the time-lapse makes it look easy, but it is the most finicky thing ever to adjust these dome pieces and have them fit the way you want it. The rotation is super twitchy and touchy, and it just absolutely did my head in, this whole process. So, but either way, this is the dome. It's pretty huge compared to, like, if you look at compared to the wolf enclosure, it's massive, right? Like, I think this is just, it's huge, and it still doesn't quite give us all the space we need. But I digress. It works for what it is. With the new features for Sandbox mode, the animals are happy in here. What more can I say? Here I moved the train station to get it closer to the building, and then I had the fun process of relaying the track. Moving these train stations is an absolute nightmare. Like, when you try and like shift them from one side to the next, they move in like a delayed function, and it's another one of those things. It's just not very intuitive, and it does my head in quite a bit. But either way, we're just getting the train station set up. I think if I could change one thing about this area of the park is that there's a few too many train stations. I'm not going to change it because it would just be a heck of a lot of work. But I think I added just a few too many stations. So, as you can see here, this is one kapok tree here. And I wanted to have like a rainforest look in this dome, but it just, look at how small, cramped it is already. Like, I got 2 trees in here, and it's looking cramped already, right? Like, the domes just are not big enough, and I thought I was overkilling it, and if anything, I undershot. You see, with a little bit of terrain modification, a little bit of pathing, some water in here, and it's full already. But anyways, the chimps are happy, and now that we have disable animal needs function, it doesn't really matter if they're happy or not. They're gonna like it. Anyway, so yeah, just going through, adding some foliage into this exhibit, making it nice and purty. I went for the tamarind tree in the middle as opposed to the kapok tree. It doesn't take up as much space. I think I actually, you know what? I change it. I do change it. I put a kapok tree one in the middle, but one of the smallest ones, so it doesn't take up as much space. So yeah, I'm just going through, detailing the zoo here, detailing the chimpanzee habitat, adding in my foliage. You know how I do. I like to add plants, add trees. Okay, so here now we're adding the outdoor staff area. I wasn't sure if I wanted to connect this to the existing staff areas, but it would just be too much of a nightmare trying to run staff paths in the small dome already. So I opted for a little outdoor area that's connected directly to the chimpanzee habitat. And that way my staff can just service the chimpanzees alone. I put dedicated staff in these buildings so they have their own keeper, their own vet and mechanic to keep the area looking nice and fit. Yeah, so here I set up a work zone for the chimps. I believe it's time to get the animals in here. Yeah. So adding our first chimp. There they are. So this, when I was designing this was prior to the update with welfare, animal welfare and stuff like that. So when you see these animals from this video on, welfare will just be maxed. That's just the way it's going to be. I think it adds, or rather takes away a relatively tedious area of the game. Some people might like that, and if I was playing franchise or something like that, I would definitely care more about it. But for me personally, this is my Sandbox zoo. I'm here to create a cool looking habitat. I'm still going to aim to use the plants from the region of the park that we're doing. Like for this area, I'm using only African tropical and so on and so forth. But as far as animal welfare and needs, I mean, they're going to be taken care of. It's not a question of like no food, no water, stuff like that, right? It's not a prison camp, right? But I just don't see a need to, not design something the way I want it to be just because the animal doesn't like more than 6% plants. You know what I'm saying? So I hope you guys agree with my choices to hit this setting and have this setting on. It also allows us to have a lot more animals per habitat, because as you can see right here, the problem I was having with these guys is the dome was just too small, right? The habitat was too small for this amount of chimps, so I had to box a whole bunch of them up just to get their habitat, their happiness up. And you know, I don't want that. I want a lively community, right? So I'm not going to build the dome bigger, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I just check the box, and now they're all happy. It's great, right? Either way, just going through here, adding some final details to the habitat, adding our information screens. We needed power. Again, this is prior to the update, so I needed power and water for this area. I put in the standard donation boxes, a couple benches, just beautifying the area. But yeah, that's gonna about do it for our time lapse today, guys. So if you did like the video, make sure to hit that like button, and please do subscribe if you want to see more content on the channel. I'm gonna leave you guys here with some beautiful shots of our chimpanzees in action, and I might showcase some of our new babies in the park as well. Either way, I'm Reckless. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.